Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Nico V here, and today I'm going to be doing a Halo Infinite weapons tier list. Why, you ask? Because, for one, tier list videos are very easy to do. Everyone has an opinion. I certainly have mine, and I need the views. I'll be honest. And also, the game's been out for a week, and I've used each of these weapons, I think, a good amount. So I think I can judge them properly. Again, this is all going to be my opinion, as all tier lists are. Um, but I think I've used each one enough to where I think I can properly rank them in the Halo Infinite weapon sandbox spectrum. So we'll be judging each weapon based on three things. One is going to be how effective is the weapon at its specific job. Two is going to be how easy is the weapon to use. And three is going to be how satisfying is the weapon to shoot and how cool does it look. Now, that one doesn't matter as much in a tier list, but if I'm on the fence between a tier, that might be the deciding factor. All right, so to kick things off, the first gun we have on this list here is the assault rifle. I think this is an easy S tier because, for one, the gun is extremely easy to use. It's very good at killing people. You can kill people at pretty much any range. It starts to struggle a little bit at long range, but you can still get the job done. And at close range, if you're fighting something like a BR, I think that unless the person is just very on it with their BR shots, you'll have a very easy time out shooting them, just because of how easy this weapon is to use. And it just shreds people. It shreds shields, kills them quickly. It's very reliable. It's an iconic gun of the franchise. It looks cool. It sounds great. And there are people saying that it is a little too strong. And I agree, it's very strong, but I don't think it should be nerfed. And the reason I don't think it should be nerfed is because it's not actually in competitive play. Other than picking it off the wall, you have BR starts. So I don't think you need to be worrying about it as much. I just think it's an all-around good weapon, and it's the best the assault rifle has ever been. You can make an argument that the assault rifle in Halo 5 was really good, but at the same time, every weapon in Halo 5 was really good, so I don't think that counts. So yeah, I think S tier for the assault rifle. It struggles a little bit at the longer ranges, but it's just so effective at the ranges that you're usually engaging people that I feel like I can't put it anywhere else. So next up is going to be the battle rifle, and I'm also going to put this into S tier because it just kind of does everything, if I'm being completely honest. It's not as good at close range as the assault rifle, but it can still get the job done up close. Medium to long ranges, you're pretty much going to slay out. Whenever I play big team and I find a battle rifle and I pick it up, my KD always increases and is much higher. It's just a very easy gun to use. If you can land those headshots, you'll shred people in no time. And I think this is the best battle rifle since Halo 2, and it feels great. It looks cool. Iconic weapon of the franchise. I think I have to put it in S just because of its usability. And I'm not sure people would really argue against that, but if you are arguing against that, feel free to comment below. I love hearing opinions. All right, so next up is the Bulldog, and the Bulldog is pretty good. It is a gun that does spawn in competitive, and I don't actually know where to put this one, to be completely honest. It's a good close combat weapon, but it's not as effective of a close combat weapon as one of the dedicated melee weapons is here at the bottom, which we'll get to later. The two-shot thing, because it, just for those of you that don't know, I'm pretty sure it doesn't one-shot people. Like, if somebody is literally like in my face and I'm touching them and I shoot them with this thing, they don't seem to die. If I'm wrong, feel free to let me know, but even if I am wrong and I just suck with it, there's never been a time where it has like one-shot somebody. It's an effective close combat weapon, but I don't think it's the best close combat weapon in the game. And again, torn between A and B. I think I'm going to put it in B here. Okay, now this is where the third point comes in, like I was saying. I'm going to put it in B because I don't think it's as cool as the original Halo shotgun. It's a good close combat weapon, but there are better out there, and I think if you place yourself, even like, so sometimes the AR can outshoot it if you miss a couple times with the Bulldog, because you do got to land those shots, because I believe when you shoot each one, there's a pump or at least a delay between each of them. The AR, where you can just keep on spraying and keep getting the DPS out there at close range, the Bulldog, you do have to land the shots, so I'm going to put it in B tier. So next up we have the Cinder Shot, and the Cinder Shot is a rocket launcher. I guess it's more of a grenade launcher, but it's kind of like a rocket launcher that takes 2 blasts to fully kill someone, I think. But you can bounce it off of walls and stuff and bounce it into rooms, which is, I think, its big strength. I think I'm going to put it into... Do I put it into A tier or B tier? Because it's a strong weapon for sure, but the thing is that it's not super obvious how to use it at first. because I found that when I was first starting to use this thing, people out in the open were actually the hardest to hit because I would shoot right at them and the projectile would just bounce right past them and nothing would happen. I found out eventually that if I did want to shoot people in the open, I would just bounce it off the floor and then try to time it so that the explosion would happen when it was next to them. And I got a lot better after that, but I still feel like I don't perform very consistently with the Cinder Shot. I think it's good. It's definitely got its uses, and it can be good in some sticky situations. But I'm gonna put it in B tier just because I've just never seen anyone perform super consistently with it. But when it does hit, it hits pretty hard. So next up we have the Commando, and I think we're gonna get to our first super hot take of the day. I don't think the Commando is all that good. I'm going to put it in C tier. The only reason I don't put it in D tier is because it does have a very fast time to kill, and it is a precision weapon, so you can get those headshots, but I feel like this Commando, it does better at close range than the battle rifle, but not as good as the assault rifle. At least it's not as consistent, I should say. And then it also does better than the assault rifle at longer ranges, but it's not as good as the battle rifle. So I just think it fits into this awkward space where I don't ever really want to use it. I'd rather try to stick with one of these two, because I think these two are much more consistent. This one can kill very quickly, and it is a precision weapon. That's why I'm not going to put it in D, but I don't know. I just think that whenever I use it, I feel like it all comes down to bloom. It feels like I'm playing Halo Reach again, which I guess is appropriate since it is the DMR of this game, but I think it's just outshone in these two in those categories. I don't think it's a bad weapon to pick up, but I just don't think it is all that powerful. I used it in the flight, and in the flight it did feel really good, and it felt better than it does in the actual release. I don't know if that's like a placebo effect or something, but I just feel like when I'm using the Commando, I'm always at a disadvantage when going up against people. So next up we have the Disruptor Pistol. And the Disruptor Pistol is an interesting pistol. I've seen a lot of videos on it, a lot of tech with it, where when you shoot somebody, it does dot damage, and it's not a lot of dot damage, but what's good about it is that it prevents enemy Spartans from recharging their shields. Now, at first I thought, wow, this is pretty strong and competitive. This will be pretty good. You shoot somebody and it'll prevent their shields from recharging, and I thought it was strong in theory, but then in practice, I don't think it's as good. I think I'm going to put it in C tier for now. We'll see if like a meta develops around this, but my personal argument for why I don't think that it's that good is because, yeah, the not recharging shields thing, it's pretty cool, but would it not be better to just shoot someone with a battle rifle and try to get the kill rather than using the Disruptor Pistol? I guess there's a niche moment where if you know you're going to lose a fight, you could shoot somebody with this thing, and then maybe they'll back off and give your teammates some space, or at least give your teammates an advantage as they go into the next fight if they're pushing really hard. But apart from that, I don't see much of the value in it, because I would rather just shoot somebody with the battle rifle. So next up, we have the Heat Wave. Now, the Heat Wave is a gun that fires multiple projectiles, similar to a shotgun, but you can bounce them off of walls, and also you can change the orientation. You can either shoot them in a straight line like this, or you can like change it so that it shoots like up and down like this. And for that reason, I think I'm going to put the Heat Wave in A tier. I think the Heat Wave is actually better than the Bulldog, because the Bulldog's trade-off for not being a one-shot shotgun anymore is that it has a slightly longer range. The thing is that the Heat Wave has an even better range than that and kills in the same amount of shots as the Bulldog. It will kill in 2 shots at like an optimal range, and you can change the orientation of this to make your shots more deadlier on the fly. You can also make it sideways if you see somebody's low on shields and you just need to get damage on them. So I think the Heat Wave is actually better than the Bulldog for those reasons, because Heat Wave has better range than the Bulldog, and it also kind of has that shotgun feeling up close that the Bulldog just kind of doesn't have. I will say the Bulldog is a little more fun to shoot, but performance-wise, I think I'm going to put the Heat Wave in S tier. I think it's a very good gun. A little hard to use because of the projectiles, but bouncing off of walls is pretty cool, and I think it's got much more utility than the Bulldog, in my opinion. So next up we have the Hydra, and the Hydra feels like a big team battle gun. It has 2 fire modes. It has a lock-on mode, and it has a free fire mode where you don't lock on, and I think the free fire mode does more damage, or at least takes less missiles than the lock-on mode. That was the impression that I was getting from the firing range anyways. The Hydra, I think, is very good at taking out aircraft, and it's good at killing Spartans that are out in the open without any cover. I think it's bad at pretty much everything else. As a dedicated anti-air gun, it does work, but funnily enough, the sniper is actually a better anti-air gun than the Hydra. We'll get into that later. I think I'm going to put the Hydra in C tier. It's fun, don't get me wrong. I like picking it up. It is cool to have a lock-on rocket to hit mongooses and stuff like that, but it's just not very powerful. It just takes a little too long to kill. So yeah, so I'm going to put the Hydra in C tier. Next up, we have the Mangler. The Mangler is a very interesting pistol. When I first started using it, I was like, this thing is not that great. It shoots a projectile, a single, like, spiked projectile, and it does very strong shield damage. In 3 shots, you can kill somebody if the last shot is a headshot, which is very cool, but it does fire kind of slow, and it's not fantastic. However, I did see tech on YouTube. Somebody uploaded a clip that changed my mind on the Mangler. I'm going to put the Mangler in A tier, because if you shoot somebody with 1 spike, you can instantly melee them and kill them. And that makes the Mangler very strong up close. It's basically a poor man's energy sword, is I guess what we'll call it, because that's actually a very strong tactic. Because if people are not expecting it, you shoot them with this thing and immediately melee them. It's pretty good. It's also good at popping shields. So if you have one, or draining shields, I should say. If you have one of these things and you shoot someone twice, then switch to a BR, that's a very easy kill to get. All right. So next up is gonna be the Needler, and the Needler. It's one of my favorite Halo weapons of all time. I think it's so funny. It's very iconic, and I really like the idea of shooting somebody with pink spikes until they explode. That's hilarious to me. But unfortunately, in my personal opinion, again, that's all this list is opinions, I don't think the Needler's that good. I think it's actually going to be our first D tier weapon on this list. The reason for that is because the Needler is pretty much an anti-Spartan weapon only. It does like almost no damage to vehicles, so you're only going to be killing Spartans with it. But you can pretty much only kill Spartans with the super combine. Like, I'm sure hitting people with the needles will do some damage, but you're not going to kill them unless they're very, very low health. And I just don't think it's a very good Spartan killing weapon. It kills fast, for sure. Kills fast like the Halo 3 Needler did, but the needles don't track very well, and if a Spartan sees you coming, then they can strafe them pretty easily. And another thing is that, while it does have a quick time to kill, once again, you are banking on getting that super combine, which is going to take a certain amount of time for all those needles to hit. If somebody is at a lower health than like having max shields, then something like the AR or like the Bulldog or even the Heat Wave at the range that the Needler is effective will probably do a better job than the Needler. I like using it. I like picking it up, and I think it's fun. It's not useless. I don't think any gun on this list is useless. I just don't think it fills a specific role very well, and the one role that it tries to do, I don't think it's particularly great at. Sorry, Needler, like I said, it is one of my favorite guns, and I do pick it up because it is fun to use, and it does kill people. Like, you will get kills with it. That's not saying anything, but this is, again, comparing all the weapons and trying to put it into a tier list, so you're the first victim of the D tier list, so sorry, Mr. Needler. So next up, we have the Pulse Carbine, and the Pulse Carbine is an interesting weapon in that when the flights were first happening and the Pulse Carbine was introduced to the world, people wrote it off as complete garbage. And that's because they tried to use it like the battle rifle. It was a 3-round burst weapon. They were like, okay, precision weapon, it gets headshot damage. Let's use it like the battle rifle. People thought it was trash, but then some people discovered that if you use it at a very specific mid-range, it would actually shred people, because with this gun, you can kill them in 2 bursts as long as all the shots hit and the last shot is a headshot. Now, that's a lot harder to do in practice than it is to say, for sure. The gun's very good at getting rid of shields. I'll give it that. But again, I don't think that it's particularly strong. It's a gun that I don't really like picking up. I don't see a lot of people using it either. And I think that while it does have its strengths, it does have much of a learning curve. You do need to, the bullets do track, but you still need to kind of learn the range and where to put your shots when you bank those plasma shots as they home in. I think it's a good gun. I think every gun on this list is like good and usable. I don't think any gun in this list is useless. I'm just trying to compare them to one another. Pulse Carbine, I think, falls a little short, especially compared to the battle rifle. And even the Commando. I think the Commando is much better than the Pulse Carbine. Next up, we have the Plasma Pistol, and I think the Plasma Pistol is an easy D tier. For those of you that don't know, if you haven't played the game yet, the gun does not EMP vehicles anymore, which was its big feature of the old Halo games. That was like the one thing that gave it use. It's strictly for the noob combo now, because you're not going to shoot people with a regular Plasma Pistol, right? You're pretty much only going to use it for the noob combo. And the noob combo is very high risk, very high reward. If you miss the shot, you're pretty much going to lose the fight. And it just really doesn't have much of a use outside of that. Even if you do want to go with a noob combo, I feel like carrying a secondary weapon with more utility would just be a much better loadout. Now, if you pick this up in competitive, because I think it is in competitive, it certainly has its uses. Like, the noob combo could be good, but again, it's high risk, high reward, and I'm not sure if some players really want to gamble or bet their life on a charged plasma pistol shot going off, but yeah, I'm going to have to put it in D tier because it did lose its ability to EMP. I think if it still had the EMP ability, I don't know if that'd be enough to make it go out of D tier. Maybe it would make it into C tier, but yeah, poor plasma pistol. I'm sorry, buddy. Next is the Ravager. The Ravager was my favorite gun in the flight, but I think that they nerfed it a lot in the full game. Because in the flight, I'm pretty sure you could kill people with 2 bursts as long as they hit. The actual game released, and it seems like it takes minimum 3 hits to kill somebody, and they made the splash damage of the explosions way, way smaller than it used to be. And for that reason, I kind of want to put the Ravager into D tier as well. If it was the same as in the flight, and again, I don't know if this is placebo effect, I might just be insane and I might just suck at the game, which, you know, this wouldn't be the first game I sucked at. Not even the first Halo game I sucked at, if I'm being honest, but Flight Ravager I would have put into A tier, possibly S tier, because I really did love this gun, but, like, I can see no reason to pick it up now. If you do charge a shot and you shoot it at a specific plot of land, it does a little bit, like, there's like a fire effect on the ground, and if people walk over it, it damages them, but I don't think that's enough for the travesty that they did to this gun. This was literally my favorite gun. I was using it all over the flight, but when I use it in the full game, it just doesn't kill people anymore. And for that reason, I'm going to put it in D tier. If I'm being insane and I'm lying to you, someone please let me know, but the gun just does not feel like it used to be, and I just never want to pick it up anymore. Next up is the sniper rifle. Sniper rifle, I'm going to put in S tier, because compared to the Halo Reach and Halo 3 sniper, I think this is the easiest sniper to use. I can't really describe why. I think it has to do with, like, the hurt boxes and the hit boxes. It feels really good. It feels really beefy. And if I'm being honest, this is the closest to the Halo 2 sniper I think I've ever felt. And I don't know what it is, but the Halo 2 sniper was just so easy to do good with. It was impossible to do bad with. This sniper kind of follows in its footsteps. I'm not particularly good at sniping. Like, I'm not very good at sniping or anything, but even with this thing, I can get some hits. You know, and in combination with any of these other guns, if you take this with an AR or a BR or a sidekick, you shoot somebody, even if you don't get the headshot, you can just switch real quick and finish them off. Sniper's a very strong weapon. That is an easy S tier for me. And also, before I move on, I almost forgot to mention that another reason I want to put the sniper into S tier is because it is the best anti-air weapon in the game. If you shoot a wasp, I don't know about the Banshee, but if you shoot a wasp 4 times with this thing, the wasp is going to blow up, which is insane to me, but the sniper is the worst enemy of wasp. So keep that in mind if you ever need to take out a wasp and you find yourself with a sniper rifle. Next up is the Sentinel Beam, and I think the Sentinel Beam is actually very strong in this game. It kills people in a pretty quick time. It has a lot of recoil, so you gotta be good at tracking people with that laser. But, if you're playing something like Big Team and you find somebody without shields, the Sentinel Beam will just absolutely melt them. If they have shields, it's still a gun with a pretty decent time to kill. But without shields and you have a Sentinel Beam, they're completely screwed. For that reason, I will put the Sentinel Beam at B tier. I think B tier is a good spot for it. It's not super strong. I'm sure there are other weapons you'd rather pick up over it, but it is fun to use and it is fun to just see people melt. And I think it is actually a pretty decent weapon. Next up, we have the Skewer, and the Skewer I'm going to put into A tier. It just landed right there. Perfect. The reason for that is because it's kind of like a rocket launcher sniper, but it has a big projectile with big drops, so it's very effective for sure. It's a great anti-vehicle weapon. It'll kill Spartans if you shoot them with it. It's a good anti-air weapon as well. Again, pretty much a big team battle weapon. That's not to say you can't use it in quick play. I've seen plenty of people do it, but I'm putting it in A tier. I think it's just as effective as, like, the rocket launcher or even the sniper. I'm putting it in A tier because it does take a little bit of getting used to with the spike drop and all that, and, like, learning all your distances. But once you get that down, this thing will destroy all competition. Next up is the sidekick. Now, the sidekick is tough. It's a great pistol. It kills very fast at close range, especially if you can land those shots. I don't think I'm going to put it into S tier. I'm going to put it into A tier. Very top of A tier, very nearly S tier. The reason I'm going to put it there is because the magazine is a little... Oh, man, this is so tough because the sidekick's such a good pistol. I really want to put it into S tier. But the thing is that the aim assist on the sidekick, I feel, is not as strong as other guns, especially at a longer range. But it does its job so well at close range. I'm really struggling with this one. I really want to put the sidekick at S tier, but I think I'm going to keep it at A tier because it's not the easiest weapon to use, but it is very, very strong. It's not as forgiving as the assault rifle. I'm going to say that right now. At close range, I usually tend to just use the assault rifle over the sidekick unless I'm playing, unless I'm really trying to sweat. Just because I think the assault rifle is a safer option, but this will kill quicker than the assault rifle, I'm pretty sure, especially if you can land those headshots. So sidekick doesn't quite make the S tier because it's a little harder to use, but it's still a very, very strong gun, and I just want to put it into the S tier, I'll be honest. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm going to keep it in A tier. We'll keep it in A tier. Next up is the rocket launcher. I'm going to put the rocket launcher into S tier, only because it's just a very easy weapon to use. You just point at somebody and you shoot it, or you shoot at the ground beside them. Very little room for error, and it is a gun that can change the course of some competitive matches. It is a gun that spawns in competitive. The projectile is a little slow. It feels a little slow, and it doesn't lock onto vehicles, but it's just an effective weapon overall. I think if I was judging the weapons based on how many people they could kill, it might be lower, because in competitive you only get 2 shots, and on I think most of the time you're only going to get 4 shots with this thing max, even in quick play. But I'll put it in S tier just because of how easy it is to use and just how forgiving it is and how good it is at generally killing people. Next up, we have the shock rifle, another precision weapon. I think this is a very easy A tier weapon for me, because it is a precision weapon. If you do get a headshot, though, you will kill somebody. It's good at draining shields. You can EMP vehicles with it. It's just an overall solid weapon. The one place where it suffers is when guys are running up on you at the closer range. You won't be able to do much if you're only armed with this, but that's why you carry a secondary, right? It's just a very good gun, and like the sniper, very easy to use, and I'm not very good at getting headshots with it, but I've seen some people just completely slay out with it, so I think it's an A-tier weapon for sure. Next up, we have the Stalker Rifle. This is kind of a mix between the Covenant Carbine and the Beam Rifle. It is a gun that will kill in 3 hits, but you do need to get a headshot. It's not as easy to use as the battle rifle, but it is very, very strong. For 1, gets rid of shields. 2, if you can land those 3 hits, it is something that will completely just mess up your opponent's day. I'm also going to put that into A tier. It's kind of similar to the shock rifle in my opinion. It's in the same boat. I guess the kind of 2 sides of the same coin. Not really, actually. That's kind of a lie. Don't listen to me. I think it's a very good gun, though. It's like a battle rifle, but not as good, but with slightly better range, if that makes sense. So Stalker Rifle, I think, is an easy A tier. Next up, we have the Energy Sword. The Energy Sword is very good in this game because it is pretty much the only one-hit kill close-range weapon now, other than the Gravity Hammer, of course. Now that the shotgun does not get a bull true as easily on it, I actually think that does make it a lot stronger, because obviously the shotgun used to be the counter to that, but now that the shotgun no longer one-hit kills, the Energy Sword can kind of just go uncontested. I've seen people use this thing and just completely shred with it. I'm going to put it into A tier because it is, I think, the best close combat weapon in the game right now. Even more so than the Gravity Hammer, but I'll get onto that later. The Energy Sword, I think, is good because most maps that it spawns, if you're playing quick play, in big team battle, it's not great because you're taking this thing and you're running around with it, unless you're camping your base or something like that. But in 4v4s, quick play, or even competitive, this thing can really change the tide of a game. I'm not going to put it at S tier because obviously you are limited by the range, but I've seen people go off with this thing, and it's a very useful tool to have. You can hold hallways very well. You can camp if you got oddball or something like that. And if you get camo with this thing, it's pretty much over. You become a ninja. So Energy Sword is pretty strong. I would put it in B tier, I think, but because the shotgun, it's 1 counter, is no longer its hard counter, I think it is a little stronger in this game than it was in the last games. All right, so lastly, we have the Gravity Hammer, and I am actually just going to put the Gravity Hammer here in B tier. The reason for that is because it has a much longer wind-up time than the Energy Sword. The area of effect is much farther. Ironically, it's kind of like the new shotgun, with how far the little blast goes when you swing the thing. But me personally, I would rather have the speed that the Energy Sword swings than the windup of this, because if you miss with this, you're probably dead. And if there's somebody else shooting at you, if you were to say go around a corner, you kill somebody with this. If he's got a teammate behind you, he'll probably kill you before you get a chance to swing this again. This thing gives you better options for multi kills. I'd rather have the quick swinging of this than the kind of blast radius of this. That's not to say the Gravity Hammer isn't strong. It is strong. Big team battle, it actually messes up vehicles, so that's pretty cool. But I just think the sword is just a little better of a close combat weapon, but it is very close. I will say this is one of those things where I'm kind of on the fence of whether I should put this into A tier or not, but we'll keep the sword there and we'll keep the hammer there because that's just how I personally feel. And now, as we come to a close on this tier list, I am realizing one thing: there is a weapon missing, and that is Fusion Coil. Unfortunately, the Fusion Coil isn't on this list. If it was, it would be an S tier, so you guys can jot that down. But yeah, so that's my tier list. Again, this is just my personal feelings on the weapons of Halo Infinite. It's just an opinion. All tier lists are just opinions. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But like I said, I think that 343 did a good job with the sandbox. I think every gun on this list, no matter where it's placed, whether it be a plasma pistol, ravager, anything like that, I think they're all certainly usable, but this is just how I feel they lie in comparison to one another. So do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. If you think I'm stupid, you go ahead and tell me. I love hearing that kind of stuff. Not really, it hurts my feelings, but comments are always good, and I like engaging with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next Halo Infinite video.